This is April Rorebeck, and this is my Texas Hold'em speech demonstration. And this is my audience. Texas Hold'em is a game of 80% luck and 20% skill. When playing Texas Hold'em, players are pushed to their limits. Sometimes they spend the entire game on the edge of their seats. You have to be tough and smart if you want to take a chance and play this one-of-a-kind poker game. The opening of poker begins with the dealer handing out two cards to each player. These are their pocket hands, and these cards are only visible to the individual players. Next is the big and small blind. The big and small blind are the first two players to the left of the dealer. The big blind is required to put a forced bet in of, let's just say, $20 in this case. So they put a $20 chip in the pot, and the pot is where the bets will be placed throughout the entire game. The small blind is required to place half of the big blind's forced bet, which in this case would be only $10. So they put one $10 chip in the pot. The deal continues around the table, and each player has the option of folding if they do not want to participate in the hand. They are able to call, which means put in $20 chip, or they can raise the bet and put in $40, $60, or $80, however much they'd want to put in. If a player after the player who has raised the bet wants to continue, they have to call the raised bet. If they do not want to call, again, they can fold. Next is going to be, it's going to come back around to the small blind, and the small blind, if they want to continue, has to either put in the rest of the forced bet of $20 or call if the bet has been raised. Next is the flop, where the dealer will take one card and place it face down. This is the bird card. And then they will take 3 cards off the top of the deck and lay them face up. These are the community cards, which each player can use to form the best hand. Next is another round of betting. It will start to the left of the dealer, and each player has the option of checking, which means they don't want to put any money in, folding, or betting. And after it comes back around to the dealer will, again, this is going to be the turn. The dealer will take one card and burn it, and take one card, place it face up, and put in the community. Next is another round of betting. Players have the option of checking, folding, or betting. The last set in this hand is going to be the river, where one more bird card is placed in the pile and one more community card is put face up. And then, one more round of betting will ensue, and the players can either fold, check, bet, or raise. Next is the showdown, which usually is between 2 players to see who has the better hand. Each player will again place their final bets, and then they will flip over their cards to see who has the better hand, and whoever would have the better hand wins the pot. Next, you have to know certain hands that there are in poker. In poker, there are 9 hands you can form using the community deck and your pocket hands. The best hand you can have is going to be a royal flush. A royal flush consists of, we'll say, ace high, king, queen, jack, 10, all of the exact same suit, such as spades, clubs, diamonds, etc. The next hand is going to be a straight flush, which is going to be a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9, all in the same suit. Again, diamonds, clubs, spades, etc. The next best hand would be 4 of a kind, which means you can have a pocket hand of 2 4s, and in the community would be 2 more 4s. That's your 4 of a kind. The next best hand is going to be a full house. A full house is where you have a pair in your hand and 3 of the same cards in the community. So let's just say you have 2 9s and there are 3 queens in the community. That's a full boat. The next best is going to be a flush. A flush is, of course, going to be all the same suit. It doesn't have to be in sequence, just all diamonds, all clubs, etc. The next is going to be just a straight. A straight is a 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. They do not have to be in the same suit. Your next best hand is 3 of a kind. 3 of a kind means that you have your 2 pocket pair in the community. In your hand you can have a pair and say 2 9s in your hand and then a 9 on the community. That means you have 3 of a kind. The next best is 2 pair, which means you can have 2 9s in your hand and 2 9s in your hand, or 2 7s on the board. That's 2 pair. One of the last hands you can have is one pair, which means you just have the 2 9s in your hand, 2 9s in the community, 1 9 in your hand, and 1 9 in the community. That's just one pair. The lowest hand you can have, but you can also win with, is going to be the high card. You may have an ace, a king, and that would beat anyone on the board because nobody has a pair or a flush or any of their hands we've discussed, and that would be your high card. Like I said, poker is 20% skill. Any person with common sense can see that Texas Hold'em is mostly luck. Any card can be laid out, it just depends on, but luck, skill plays the biggest part, just depends on how you play your hands. Looking at your hands pre-flop, which means before anything is laid in the community, and you don't have a good hand but you still want to play, you have the option of bluffing, which means you are trying to trick the players into thinking you have the best hand. That's where skill comes in. You have to have a good poker face, and you have to be good at reading what other people have to make sure you're taking that, to make sure that you're making good choice at bluffing at this moment. You also have to be careful when you're trying to bluff because most of the time, players around the table are going to have a better hand than you. The more you play, the better you become at determining what the best move is going to be, and you become better at guessing what another player's hand is. A quote I have is, you gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, and know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. And that is Kenny Rogers from the movie Know When to Fold 'Em. Texas Hold'em may be considered mostly a game of luck. However, that 20% of skill keeps players in the game. You have to know what to do with the cards you are dealt. You need to know when to walk away from that pot and take the loss gracefully. Becoming a good Hold'em player doesn't take long, so go ahead and try it. Thank you.